West Side Decorating Center. Good morning to you. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Art Lewis Show here on WSGW. Later on this hour, after the 10 o'clock news, we'll be chatting with Bay County Executive Jim Barsha. At 11 o'clock, Mindy McIntosh will be along to talk money from McIntosh and Associates. First part of this hour, though, we're going to spend heading to that gem in Saginaw County, one of the top travel destinations in the state of Michigan, and that, of course, is Frankenmuth. And with us is the city of Frankenmuth city manager. We say good morning to Bridget Smith. Bridget, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Another week and a half or so, I think it's safe to say Frankenmuth's going to the dogs.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
This is a big event, isn't it? It's one of the biggest, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say it's in the top three. Dog Bowl, Balloons Over Bavarian Inn, this coming up here, and then Snowfest and Autofest.
Yeah, it's not enough to keep you busy. So what happens during, for example, you have an event like this. I mean, the town becomes packed with tourists. How does the city handle it? How does it change what you have to do as city administrator?
Well, we actually start planning well in advance. So after last year's event, we have the opportunity to kind of debrief internally, and then we meet with the event organizers and talk about what could have been better, different, and then start planning for the next year.
And most of this takes place where? Behind the River Place shops?
For Dog Bowl, most of it is concentrated, which actually is helpful to the city. So it's mainly Main Street to Weiss, Main Street to Jefferson to Weiss. So that whole River Place, Bavarian Inn kind of area. That's where the Dog Bowl event takes place, and then Balloons Over Bavarian Inn. But anytime you invite, tens of thousands of friends to town, they wander everywhere. So all of town will be busy.
And at the same time, Bavarian Inn Bavarian Inn Lodge has had their ribbon cutting for the new water park. Yes.
Yeah. So I consider myself fortunate. I've been able to walk through several times while it's been under construction, and then I was there last night for the ribbon cutting, and the being able to watch the incremental change has just been really exciting.
What does a facility like that mean to Frankenmuth? I mean, because you already had one water park, now you have two water parks, you have two major restaurants plus a whole bunch of others. How much more does the city need? How much more can you handle?
Well, it's funny to think of, but Frankenmuth is really compact. Like, we're like maybe 3.5 square miles. And we've done a really good job in terms of managing growth and concentrating density and embracing that instead of sprawling. And that's in large part due to Frankenmuth Township. So our growth plan is to keep the more intense development within the city limits. And we're at about 1,250 acres developed, but our plan has room, and this is over decades, of course, has room to grow of 950 acres. And that still will keep us, maybe 5 square miles instead of 3. So relatively compact still.
And that still would be within the city limits? Or that include that's just the city limits then?
Well, that's the city limits, and then we have what's called a joint growth boundary with Frankenmuth Township.
Okay.
So property that's friendly to annexation.
And I know there's been some new things developed over the past year or two. One of them is my absolute favorite, the new Me Pot restaurant, the Korean barbecue and hot pot. I used to have to go to Detroit to get hot pot. Now I don't anymore.
And they have a robot.
Yes, they do. And it was really funny because one of the gals that owns it was on the show a while back, and I said, "Wow, now I have another favorite restaurant in Frankenmuth." She said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, I like Wang's Bistro." She owns that too.
Yeah.
I went, "Oh, okay." It is, it's. I really think that Frankenmuth, since I've been here, which goes back into the 70s, but Frankenmuth in some ways is still the same in terms of its thematic base, yet it's diversified within its types of businesses. Am I misreading that, or has it?
No, I think it has, and that's like one of the biggest challenges. We've been working on updating our master plan, and the biggest hurdle that the city faces is wanting to hold on to what makes us unique, but also wanting some change. And there's a saying that says if you want a white picket fence, you always have to paint that fence white. So you always have to be having a revolution. And so Frankenmuth, I think, has tried very hard to improve, but still kind of hold on to that small town feel. And it's not easy. And people have big feelings about it.
I would probably call it an evolution rather than a revolution, though.
Yes, probably.
Definitely. The other big challenge you face is when you have these events, traffic comes to a standstill. That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's one
Yep.
And I don't know that you can solve it.
No, and we have those conversations a lot with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and with our business community and with event organizers that, our streets are not built to hold hundreds of thousands of people. And so when we invite those folks in for the weekend, we all have to acknowledge and embrace the fact that it's going to take longer to get through town. And our primary focus then is how do we keep people safe?
Yeah, and that's always an issue. I'm going to take a quick break, Bridget. We'll come back for one more segment. We're talking to Bridget Smith. She is the city manager for the city of Frankenmuth. We talk about McDonald Ford in Freeland for a moment, my car dealer. And you've probably noticed it's harder and harder to find products that say they are made in America. Well, now with the uncertainty of tariffs, it's become even more important. And McDonald Ford, in anticipation of those tariffs, stocked their lot with tariff-free vehicles. And they have many more en route. And not only are they tariff-free, but Ford is now offering employee pricing for everyone. That means you pay the same price as Ford employees. In addition, Chrysler and import buyers, if you're considering a Ford, you will also receive the lowest price offered. Chevy truck buyers can now get into the Ford F-150 at employee pricing. So you see, now's the right time to visit McDonald Ford M47 in Freeland for the best selection and the lowest possible price. Don't let tariffs prevent you from getting the vehicle of your choice at a price you can afford. Visit McDonald Ford in Freeland today. Remember, tariff-free and employee pricing for everyone. And by the way, that employee pricing from Ford has now been extended through July 6th. McDonald Ford M47 in Freeland. All right, we're back with you here on WSGW. We are talking to Bridget Smith. She is the city manager of the city of Frankenmuth. Bridget, in in talking to a lot of law enforcement agencies around here, and I'm in the sheriff's department, they all have the same complaint, and that is that it's difficult to find recruits right now. How is Frankenmuth doing with its policing?
I would say we've been very fortunate. So we just hired another full-time officer, thanks in part to some state funding that allowed us to sponsor someone through the police academy. That was a big help. And so our ranks are now higher than they've been since the 90s. So that part has been good. We rely on our reserve unit to help us support events like Dog Bowl and Snowfest and Autofest and all the other fests that take place in the city.
And the sheriff's department, too, because I see all kinds of assignments for us on the Dog Bowl.
Yes. So it takes a variety of support. This year, we do have 4 new recruits for the reserves, which is great, and we're happy to have them. But that's the lowest number that we've had since COVID. So it's always difficult to find, I think, public safety, and the climate has changed. You know, it's not just potentially a dangerous career, but it's not always a well-received career.
Yeah, although I sense we're turning the corner. Talking to a couple of the chiefs around here, they actually have a waiting list, which is rare. But I just sense that, maybe we're turning the corner now in how the law enforcement community is viewed by the public. I hope that's true.
Yeah, me too.
So, and it should be pointed out, I mean, what's the population of the city of Frankenmuth? The permanent population?
5,132.
Exactly.
Yes. I just had to look it up yesterday.
Yet, you have to provide safety for tens of thousands of people on any given weekend.
Yes.
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. And so, like I mentioned, our reserves are a big part of that. We've also made some investments in equipment. So with some of our stimulus money through the American Recovery Plan, we purchased, they're called Meridian barricades, and they're designed to physically stop vehicles. Mm-hmm. So they're rated if you deploy them in a certain arrangement. So it's an extra safety measure that we use. They'll be out for Dog Bowl. We use them during Snowfest. We're actually going to use them during graduation. Frankenmuth High School has a tradition where after commencement, all the graduates gather in the parking lot. So we're going to use these barricades to provide that extra layer of safety, for those that event in particular. But we try to use them whenever we can.
How does a city like Frankenmuth do a budget when you have all of these event-centered activities? How in the world do you budget for all that?
Luckily, a lot of our events have a long history. Everything from the Volksloth road race on the day before the 4th of July, the day of the 4th of July, mm-hmm. to Dog Bowl. So we have a good track record. We know exactly how many hours it takes. We have the list of barricades that we pull out. We know how much time it takes to, stage and pick up every trash can after a Bavarian festival. So a lot of those costs are baked into the budget. But then I'll also say the businesses, event organizers, not-for-profits, the civic organizations that put these events on, give back to the community. So they help supplement those services. And then they also help us do things that we otherwise wouldn't have in our budget. So we're fundraising right now for pickleball courts. And so the JCs have committed money. AutoFest has committed money. So they help us do the things that otherwise wouldn't necessarily be available in our budget.
Well, since Frankenmuth doesn't seem to know how to do anything small, am I to deduce from that once you get your pickleball courts, we'll have a national pickleball tournament weekend or something?
So we do have some very passionate pickleball players that would love to host a tournament. But the pickleball courts have actually been a wonderful and exciting partnership, I think, with our local residents, because it really has been a grassroots effort. They're looking to construct 8 courts. We're going to do it right behind City Hall. It'll be our first new park in a number of years, and it's all been locally focused. And one of the reasons we wanted it outside of kind of Heritage Park and that location is we really do want it to be resident focused. Not saying that it's not going to be used for tournaments and that it's open to the public clearly, but it really has been a labor of love for some really dedicated folks for a number of years now.
So how long before you see construction?
Our goal is late summer. So if we get them under construction by August, we let the concrete cure, we put the special surface on it. I'm not a pickleball player, so
you will
all
be.
I can tell you is that, is that I know it's a special surface. The goal is to still have them open for construction or open for play in the fall.
All right. So last question for you. How many more major events could you handle in Frankenmuth? If somebody came up with some big idea, could you tackle it?
So my philosophy is that we always start with yes. So we would sit down and have the conversation. But one of the things that we do now with any proposal on a new event is the city lays out in advance what we would need in terms of contribution for public safety. So if you want to bring a brand new event into town and it's going to require traffic control, we are going to give you an estimate for what that traffic control looks like.
So nobody has any surprises.
Right.
Very good. Well, Bridget, look, thanks for, as always, spending a little time with us, talking about that great town, Frankenmuth, and hope you have a fabulous, successful summer in Frankenmuth.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and I hope to see you out here one weekend.
I have a matter of fact, I'm doing a remote dog bowl, I think, Saturday, so I'll be there.
Excellent.
If I can figure out how to drive in. I'll come the back way, I think. All right. Yeah. Bridget, have a great day. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bridget Smith, she is the city manager of the city of Frankenmuth. We'll have open phones for the remainder of the hour, 989-752-6111. Whatever you'd like to chat about, give us a call on this Tuesday morning.
Hometown feel and
Hi, we're back with you here on WSGW and to our phones. Carl is in Saginaw. Good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Art. You're aware that the president is visiting the Middle East right now.
Yep.
And I'm sure you've seen the story about this luxury Boeing 747.
Yep.
That the country of Qatar is there. I don't know if it's finalized yet, or they're still going over the details. Just what do you think about that, Art? Here's country that we're negotiating with, gifting the president something like this.
Well, it's going to be turned over to the government, but here's my rationalization, if there is any. By the way, we're not the only country getting one. Turkey apparently is getting one too. The plane will come under the control of, I think, the Department of Defense, but I'm not positive. If it's a gift to the U.S. government, in other words, to the citizens of this country, okay. If it's a gift to the president, I'd be dead set against it.
Well, it sounds like they're talking about it's going to go to the Trump Foundation at the end of his term, and then it'd be available for Trump's use, apparently.
Well, we'll see what happens with it. But I know initially initially it lands in the government, not in him. So we'll see. Listen, it's I got to tell you offhand, I do agree it's a strange kind of thing.
Yes. And apparently, this jet would have to be pretty much completely refitted, to act as Air Force One.
Oh, absolutely, because it'd have to have
communication equipment and
defense equipment. At the same time, Boeing is building two of them.
Yes, but I guess that's way behind.
They're way behind. They're way behind, but it wouldn't be any faster with this airplane. It'd have to go through the same thing.
Well, yeah, they'd be starting all over again. I don't know if they have the people available to do that right now. It just, I don't know. I'm glad the economy seems to be doing better. The stock market seems to be doing better.
Well, not seems to be. It is.
It is. Well, I don't know. Are we back to where we were, in January, the stock market?
I don't know about January.
But
we're back to where we were
before
before all the tariffs started, all that stuff. We're not back to our high, which was like almost 46,000. But that's going to take a little time, but it's heading in the right direction, because the way I see this, it's exactly the way I predicted. He likes to poke the bear. He put all these tariffs out there, and one by one you're going to see them fall and come back into line, and we'll be better off for him in the long run because we'll have a better balance of our trade. And I can't find fault with that right now. I mean, it's something that's going to take time. You got to wait for it to happen, but it's happening. More power to him.
The fault might be that in the meantime, a lot of small businesses go under. That could be the fault in this.
Could be, but then again, that happens all the time. So, I understand what you're saying, but, something had to be done. And it's not easy.
What about if China is such a bad actor, what about going after China and getting the rest of the world to join with us going after China?
Well, guess what? They did, because China went to the rest of the world when all this began and wanted them to come against the United States, and they all refused. So they did that.
We declared trade war on Canada, on Europe, on just about everybody. We could have gotten all these countries working with us to go against China.
Well, all those countries are doing the same thing China was, only to a smaller degree. Tariffing us at a greater extent than we tariff them, and our products became difficult. So I don't fault him for that. I'm sorry, I can't fault him for that. We were being taken advantage of all over the world. So it's about time somebody stood up to him. All right, I got to take a break.
All right. Well, all right. Thanks, Art.
All right, take care. Bye-bye now. Well, I'll tell you what, let me just get Errol on here real quick before I have to take the break. Errol, good morning.
Morning. First of all, if I'm against this gift, because if we accept it, we're going to have to take that apart, every nut, bolt, and everything to make sure there's no spyware on it. Okay?
Yeah, which they would do anyway.
Charlie had a story this morning about the dinosaurs, that these firms have invented a new hair for people. You might look good in one of these. Understand it does not grow very much.
No interest.
Things like that.
No interest.
It would look good in a wig with a long ponytail.
No interest.
Well, sure, you say that now, but you might try it.
At 82, I'll say that forever.
Yeah. Now, on to sports. Now, you know how much I know about sports. I know more about the weather. How do you think that Saginaw would support a softball team? They had a great one back, and they still have the field out there off of Holland, but they were called the Saginaw Bears. And if they want to become a sports capital, I'd like to see a softball team.
Yeah,
in Saginaw.
I don't think that field is there anymore.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
If you go down Holland Avenue, before you get to the expressway, on the left-hand side, the field is still sitting there with nothing in it. Next time you're out that way, take a look to the left.
I will. All right. I'd be honest with you. I'm not sure how much sports, because softball, I don't know, to tell you the truth. I don't know how much professional sports we can sustain in this area.
I mean,
league-wise, there's lots of softball.
Midland's done, but now, the other thing, you're not going to shoot me here. The other thing I'd like to see established sometime is curling. Midland's got it. They're all over the place. No, don't laugh.
No, listen, if we could support it, I'd say fine.
Sometime in the future, it would be nice to have curling going on in Saginaw. Midland has it all the way into the schools that teach it, and there are more curlers on this planet from all over than there are football players.
That may be, but how many do you have here? There may be more of them on the planet, but how many are in Saginaw?
There's at least 15 of us that were in the curling club over in Midland. I was a charter member of the curling club in Midland, competed in Hamilton in a high school tournament with, 30 other teams and brought back second place.
Well,
that ain't bad for an old man.
All right. Well, if you can find enough people to support it and build it, more power to you. I'd support you.
Got lots of them, sir.
All right. I got to run here.
Okay.
Take care, Errol. Bye-bye now. We'll be right back.
Looking for a fun getaway without break?
City, Al, good morning.
Morning, Arthur. In your conversation with Bridget Frankenmuth on what draws people into Frankenmuth, I think you should remember they have one of the premier golf courses in Michigan in the Fortress.
That's just
and
another,
it really does bring a lot of people to love that golf course.
Yep, that's just another one of the attractions. They got lots of them.
Yep, but that is a really good golf course.
All right. Very good, Al.
Okay,
thanks.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye now. And here's Paul in Saginaw. Paul, good morning.
Morning, Art. I'll change the subject a little bit. This past weekend, I was up north with a friend, and we went to breakfast at a restaurant up there, and they had something I never had before in my life. When I ordered breakfast, I ordered some hash browns, and my buddy had eggs Benedict with hollandaise sauce.
Yeah.
And I said, gee, that looks pretty good. What does it taste like? I never had it. He says, well, try some. Let's put some on your hash browns. And it tasted